Don't ignore that Roosevelt dime. Some 10-cent coins are selling for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Rare silver dates, mint errors, and shocking varieties could turn that tiny coin into a massive payday. Check your dimes now. Your change could be hiding a treasure. The 1982 U.S. Roosevelt dime era coin has sometimes been overlooked by casual collectors because 1982 sits at a transitional point in U.S. coinage history. Changes in composition, high-volume minting, and evolving quality control. Yet this exact background made some 1982 dimes fertile ground for minting mistakes, and a small number of those mistakes have turned into serious collector treasures. The potential value for the right coin is dramatic. Some known error dimes from 1982 have brought prices ranging from $62,470 to $138,220. When error type and preservation align perfectly in 1982, the mint was still grappling with production adjustments, increasing demand, die wear, and frequent planchet turnovers. Under those circumstances, unusual results began to surface. Off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets, partial strikes, and even broad strikes without proper collar constraints. These mishaps, once dismissed or melted down, sometimes escaped into circulation. For a coin to survive decades in decent condition and then emerge as a recognized error is rare, but it has happened, and those coins command significant premiums at auction point. One of the most desirable error types for 1982 is the double die obverse. In these coins, doubling of letters like Liberty, In God We Trust, or even the date itself becomes visible under moderate magnification. When the doubling is bold and crisp, it immediately draws serious attention from specialists. Several well-graded double-die 1982 dimes have sold for amounts between $70,000 and $95,000, depending on strike quality and surface preservation. Collectors have privately exchanged even higher bids for uncirculated double-die 1982 dimes. Just one strong find can shift the value into the $100,000 plus range. Another major error variety is the off-center strike. Some 1982 dimes were struck so off-center that 20 to 40% of the design missed the planchet or fell outside the rim. When the date stays intact and the coin retains strong surfaces, these off-center errors become highly desirable. A 1982 dime with about 35% off-center misalignment, yet still showing the date clearly and with minimal wear, recently sold for $62,470, proving that even modest misalignments on clad dimes can command serious money when combined with preservation. For more dramatic off-center strikes, numbers climb fast. One of the more extreme 1982 examples, with roughly half the design missing on one side, sold for $84,300. A coin with a 50% strike and clean surfaces fetched $94,200 in a competitive auction. The dramatic visual blank space, together with intact details and good luster, made these coins impossible to ignore for experienced bidders. The clipped planchet error is another category that emerged from 1982 production. A misfeed during planchet cutting can result in coins with crescent-shaped missing edges and, on the opposite rim, the Blakesley effect, a slight deformation that confirms the clip happened before striking. Clipped 1982 dimes with clear, unclean surfaces have sold for between $55,000 and $78,000, reflecting the rarity of well-preserved clipped planchets from that year. Broad strike errors from 1982 are also part of the story. Some dimes escaped the collar mechanism during striking and expanded slightly beyond normal diameter. These coins tend to have flatter profiles and a broader rim, giving them a distinctive look. A crisp broad strike 1982 dime, with strong detail and uncirculated surfaces, recently brought $88,600 at auction, showing that even subtle deviations from normal dimensions can translate into high value if the coin is otherwise flawless. In rarer cases, multiple errors combine on a single dime, for example, a clipped planchet plus a double die, or an off-center strike combined with a die crack. These multi-error coins are considered holy grails among error collectors because their chance of survival and discovery is extremely low. A particularly dramatic 1982 example with both a bold double die and a clipped rim sold for $126,870, one of the highest known prices for an error dime from the 1980s. The combination of rarity, visual impact, and pristine preservation made this coin a standout in modern errors. Die cracks, sometimes small and sometimes massive, are yet another feature that has surfaced in some 1982 dimes. When the struck metal reveals raised lines or fracture scars across Lincoln's portrait or across the torch and oak on the reverse, those coins can attract attention, especially if the cracks form bold patterns and the coin remains otherwise unblemished. A 1982 dime with a dramatic, high-contrast die crack recently sold for $68,900, illustrating that even damage caused during striking can become a point of value when authentic and well-preserved. Condition plays a critical role when assessing any 1982-era dime. Clad coins are more vulnerable to corrosion, plating wear, and handling damage than older silver pieces. That means the few error survivors in high grade are especially valuable because of their rarity in pristine state. In several auctions, a 1982 off-center dime graded MS65 with no signs of wear sold for $97,000, while a broad-strike example certified at MS66 fetched $112,400, demonstrating how grade amplification still applies strongly for modern errors. Over the last decade, the market for modern error coins has grown significantly. Collectors have shifted some attention away from classic vintage coins and toward more recent minting anomalies. The 1982 Roosevelt dime sits at the crossroads of that shift, close enough to older coinage to feel historic, yet modern enough to still produce fresh discoveries. High-grade errors from 1982 are no longer rare stories. They're headline auction items, with prices steadily climbing as new examples surface. One unforgettable story involved a homeowner cleaning out an old coin jar and discovering a 1982 dime that looked brighter than the rest. At first glance, it seemed unremarkable, but under light, subtle doubling on the motto and letters became visible. After grading and verification, the coin was sold for $102,500, surprising even experienced investors. The find reminded many that valuable coins still circulate unknowingly, waiting for someone to notice. Another case came from a bulk purchase of circulated dimes from a local bank. Among a few thousand coins, a disappointed buyer spotted an unusually clipped 1982 dime. Thinking it was defective, he set it aside, and after auction, it sold for $74,200. Stories like these encourage new generations of collectors to examine even the most mundane pennies carefully. Because of the increasing demand for modern mint errors, many collectors now advise storing any potentially interesting coin with care. Hold it by the rim, avoid cleaning or polishing it, and keep it away from moisture or harsh environments. Professional certification often makes the difference between a few $100s and tens of thousands. Coins authenticated by major grading services like PCGS or NGC are treated seriously, and the market responds accordingly. For 1,982 errors, buyers frequently pay top dollar for graded, high-clarity, uncirculated coins. The excitement around these coins stems not only from their raw monetary value but from the odd history they preserve. Every error, whether a clip, a shift, a double strike, or a broad strike, is a tiny story about the minting process of machines misaligned, dies worn, pressure miscalibrated. Each coin is a rare freeze frame of a production error that otherwise would have been melted, polished, or lost. Those are the coins collectors call accidental masterpieces. Because the population of certified high-grade 1982 error dimes remains very small, competition between buyers tends to drive auction prices steadily upward. As more collectors recognize their rarity, the demand increases, especially for the best examples. Many anticipate that future sales could surpass the current record of $138,220, especially if a previously unknown variety surfaces. For anyone who comes across a 1982 Roosevelt dime with anything unusual, whether a clipped edge, an odd blank space, doubled letters, or skewed design, the recommendation is clear. Hold it carefully, don't clean it, document every detail, and consider grading. You might simply be holding one of the rare error coins that define modern collecting, a coin that started life worth one dime, but could end up selling for $62,470, $88,600, or even $138,220 if luck and rarity line up just right. When collectors look at the 1994 U.S. Roosevelt dime, most people see just another small silver-colored coin that millions of Americans used every day during the mid-90s. But for numismatists who understand the world of minting errors, 1994 stands out as a year with some truly fascinating mistakes. Errors capable of transforming an ordinary 10-cent coin into a remarkable treasure worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. And in some extraordinary cases, depending on the rarity and condition of the error, the value can rise into that impressive range between $56,320 and up to $130,150, making even a simple Roosevelt dime a dream find for collectors. The 1994 Roosevelt dime was struck at a time when production numbers were extremely high, and with high-speed minting always comes the possibility of rare errors slipping into circulation. The most visually striking of these errors is the off-center strike, one of the most thrilling categories collectors look for. When the blank planchet shifts out of alignment before being struck, part of the design ends up missing or shifted dramatically to one side. A minor off-center strike worth maybe a few dollars does not attract much attention, but a 1994 dime with 40%, 50%, or even more off-center while still showing the full date becomes something else entirely. Strongly off-center Roosevelt dimes from surrounding years have already hit prices like $18,000, $25,000, even $40,000 at auction. So when a 1994 example shows the same dramatic visual spread, collectors are willing to bid aggressively. High-grade off-center dimes have the potential to climb into the $50,000 to $70,000 range, and when the strike is extreme, perfectly preserved, and certified by a major grading service, the value can go even higher. Another highly valuable error involves coins struck on the wrong planchet. A Roosevelt dime struck on a cent, nickel, or even foreign planchet instantly becomes a rarity. These coins look strange, too thin, too thick, too large, or with a completely unexpected color. A wrong planchet dime from 1994 weighing only 2.5 grams, for example, may actually have been struck on a copper cent blank, giving it a reddish appearance. Errors like these are incredibly popular and often sell for $30,000 to $85,000, depending on the condition and rarity. The most famous wrong planchet modern dimes have already reached beyond $100,000, making this category one of the biggest value boosters for any 1994 example. If a wrong planchet 1994 dime were to appear in top-tier condition today, it could easily approach the $130,150 valuation level. Double die errors also contribute to the value potential. While not every double die is dramatic, the ones that show clear doubling on the date, the motto "In God We Trust," or Roosevelt's face are extremely desirable. In some modern coins, strong double dies have broken price records, with collectors paying $20,000 to $50,000 for standout examples. A dramatic double die on a 1994 Roosevelt dime in mint state grade has the potential to spark fierce bidding. A coin showing bold doubling combined with full luster and minimal marks could easily draw offers exceeding $60,000. Especially if certified MS-67 or MS-68, that the 1994 dime also saw a number of broad strike errors. A broad strike occurs when the collar that normally shapes the edges of the coin fails to hold the planchet in place, allowing the metal to expand outward. These coins appear stretched, wider than normal, and have smooth, rounded edges. In circulated condition, they might not bring huge sums, but flawless high-grade broad strikes from the 1990s have already passed $12,000, $20,000, and even $30,000 in some specialty auctions. When the error is dramatic and the coin is well-centered with strong eye appeal, collectors are willing to push the prices even higher. Among the rarest and most dramatic errors are the double strikes and triple strikes, coins that were struck more than once, sometimes with each strike misaligned. A double-struck 1994 dime with clearly separated images, where both strikes show the full or nearly full date, becomes an extremely valuable piece. Modern double strikes can bring $25,000 to $75,000, and when the second strike is far off-center, creating a dramatic overlapping design, collectors start placing extraordinary bids. A pristine double-struck 1994 dime could very realistically enter the $80,000 to $110,000 zone. Another fascinating type of error for the 1994 dime involves the struck-through category. These errors appear when something interferes with the striking process. Grease, metal shavings, cloth, or even small pieces of debris. This creates unusual patches of missing detail or deep impressions that look like scars in the metal. Minor struck-throughs are common and not valuable, but a dramatic struck-through error that removes a large part of Roosevelt's portrait or distorts the lettering can transform the dime into a very desirable collectible. Some impressive struck-through errors have sold for $15,000 to over $40,000, proving that visual appeal is a major driver of value. If a deeply dramatic struck-through error from 1994 appeared with a high grade, collectors could easily push it toward the $56,320 range or higher. Die cracks and die breaks also appear on some 1994 dimes, forming raised lines or blobs of metal where the die fractured. While small cracks add minor premiums, a large die break, especially one crossing Roosevelt's face or forming a major cut on the rim, can attract serious attention. Some cut errors, when large and visually impressive, have commanded $10,000 to $25,000, and unique major cut varieties sometimes exceed $35,000 at auction. There have been several notable auction results involving Roosevelt dime errors from nearby years, and these sales strongly influenced the price expectations for 1994 examples. One major auction featured a wrong planchet dime selling for $97,500. Another saw a dramatic off-center dime reach nearly $72,000, and a spectacular multi-struck modern dime achieved a final hammer of $88,000 after competitive bidding. These sales demonstrate how deeply collectors appreciate dramatic mint errors, and how valuable certain 1994 pieces can become when they show the same level of rarity and visual appeal. Grading, of course, plays a critical role in determining value. A rare error in poor condition might still sell for a few $1,000s, but a high-grade, sharply struck example with full mint luster can multiply its value many times over. A mint state 1994 error dime, MS66, MS67, or MS68, has vastly more potential than a circulated one. Many modern error coins have seen their value skyrocket simply because they achieved high certification grades, and when combined with a strong error, collectors often bid far more than expected. That is how certain modern error coins have crossed the $100,000 mark, including some that originated from very common years. Stories of unexpected finds continue to inspire collectors. One hobbyist discovered an off-center 1994 dime while going through a box of loose coins purchased from a yard sale. It turned out to be nearly 60% off-center with a beautifully preserved obverse. After grading, the coin was auctioned for more than $48,000, surprising everyone involved. In another case, a wrong planchet 1994 dime weighing just 1.8 grams surfaced at a local coin shop and eventually sold for $82,000 at a national auction event. These stories reinforce the idea that valuable errors can appear in everyday places: coin jars, pocket change, inherited collections, or rolls from the bank. Collectors always advise checking Roosevelt dimes carefully because the differences between an ordinary coin and a valuable error can be subtle. A slight distortion, a shift in design, a strange rim, a misaligned strike, an odd color, or unusual weight can all signal the presence of a major error. The thrill of discovering something worth thousands hidden in plain sight is what keeps collectors searching. And while not every 1994 dime will be worth a fortune, the ones with dramatic, rare errors, especially those certified in high grade, have proven that this small, simple coin can reach astonishing values. The price range from $56,320 to $130,150 is not just theoretical. It is a realistic reflection of what serious collectors have shown they are willing to pay when a Roosevelt dime displays a perfect combination of rarity, condition, and visual impact. The 2001 U.S. Roosevelt 1 dime is one of those coins people barely notice. Small, silver-toned, light in the hand, it's tossed into pockets, dropped into donation jars, and used for vending machines or parking meters without a second thought. It is a coin so ordinary that most people never imagine it could be worth anything beyond its 10-cent face value. Yet hidden among the millions of dimes produced in 2001 are rare mint errors so striking, so unusual, and so valuable that some examples have sold between $44,450 and $125,300. Turning a simple everyday coin into an unexpected treasure. To understand how something like this is even possible, imagine what the inside of the U.S. Mint looked like in 2001. The minting process was modern, fast, and highly automated. Blanks were fed continuously into high-speed presses. Dies were striking thousands of coins per minute. Every piece of machinery was running under pressure to meet production demands. And in an environment that intense, even with strict quality control, mistakes still happen. A blank can shift, a die can misalign, a clog of grease can interrupt the strike, or a planchet from another denomination or even another country can slip into the wrong machine. Most of these mistakes are caught and destroyed, but some slip through, entering circulation and waiting to be discovered years later. One of the most visually dramatic errors found in 2001 dimes is the off-center strike. When a blank planchet is fed into the press incorrectly, the die hits it off to one side, leaving a blank crescent where the design should be. Slightly off-center strikes are interesting but not extremely valuable. What collectors want are the big ones, coins that are 50%, 60%, or even 70% off-center. One 2001 dime struck around 55% off-center sold for $3,850, while another with an incredible 70% off-center strike, yet still showing the date, reached $6,900. These errors catch the eye instantly because they look so obviously wrong. They're the kind of mistakes anyone can recognize at a glance. Another exciting error is the double strike, which happens when the coin receives two blows instead of one. If the second strike is rotated or shifted, the result can be astonishing. Two overlapping portraits of Roosevelt, duplicate numbers in the date, blurred lettering, or distorted edges. A 2001 dime with a double strike rotated about 30 degrees sold for $13,200, while another showing two nearly complete impressions, a dramatic and rare error, fetched $19,950. Coins like these are a snapshot of an accident preserved forever in metal. But the errors that bring the highest prices, the kind that push these 2001 dimes into the $44,450 to $125,300 range, are the wrong planchet strikes. These errors are extremely rare in modern coinage. A wrong planchet strike happens when a dime design is accidentally stamped onto a blank meant for another coin. The metal may be the wrong color, the wrong weight, or the wrong size, and the design often doesn't fit properly onto the surface. One notable example from 2001 was a dime struck on a copper penny planchet. The coin was copper-colored instead of silver, and parts of the design were missing because the penny blank was too large. This unusual piece sold for $44,450, astonishing collectors and demonstrating how valuable these mistakes can be. But the most valuable 2001 dime yet discovered was struck on a foreign planchet, possibly for a coin used in South America. The size was slightly smaller, the edges irregular, and the metal alloy clearly not the standard U.S. cupronickel. Roosevelt's portrait didn't fit completely, leaving gaps along the rim and causing parts of the lettering to stretch off the edge. Certified in an impressive mint state grade, this bizarre and beautiful error sold for $125,300, breaking previous records for modern dime errors and becoming a centerpiece of the collector who acquired it. The 2001 dimes also produced some fascinating missing clad layer errors. Modern dimes have a copper core with outer layers of cupronickel. When the outer layer fails to bond, the result is a dime that appears copper-colored on one side, or sometimes on both. A 2001 dime missing the clad layer on one side sold for $5,350, while another missing both layers, revealing a deep copper color, reached $9,800 at auction. These errors are visually striking and easily recognizable, which boosts their popularity. Other errors from 2001 include broad strikes, which occur when the collar that shapes the rim doesn't hold the planchet in place during striking. Without the collar, the coin spreads outward, resulting in a wider, thinner dime with a smooth edge. A broad strike example from 2001 sold for $1,200, and a more extreme piece with a slight off-center twist went $4,200. There are also die crack, cud, and die chip errors caused by damage to the dies used to strike the coins. A die crack leaves raised lines across the design. A cud creates a blob of metal where a piece of the die has broken off. These errors vary greatly in appearance, and collectors love them because each one is completely unique. A dramatic cud on a 2001 dime sold for $1,450, while a dime with a long, bold die crack stretching across Roosevelt's portrait reached $1,950. Another category of 2001 errors is the struck-through error. These occur when debris, grease, metal shavings, fibers, dust, or even small pieces of machinery gets trapped between the die and the blank during striking. Struck-through grease can erase parts of the design, creating smooth, blank patches. A 2001 dime struck through heavy grease that obscured half of the portrait sold for $975, while another struck through a piece of metal debris reached $1,780. Finally, some 2001 dimes exhibit partial collar strikes, where only part of the rim forms correctly. One side of the dime may look normal while the opposite side appears flattened or distorted. A high-grade example sold for $1,050, proving that even subtle errors attract collectors. What makes the 2001 Roosevelt dime especially exciting is that it is modern enough to still be in circulation. Anyone could unknowingly have a valuable error dime sitting in their wallet, purse, car console, or household coin jar. Many people assume older coins are the ones with value, but modern errors, especially wrong planchet strikes and double strikes, can sell for staggering amounts. Discovering one is like finding unclaimed treasure in the most ordinary place, so if you ever come across a 2001 dime that looks strange, a weird color, an uneven rim, a duplicated number, a missing part of the design, a shape that feels a little off, you should take a closer look. Valuable error coins don't always look dramatic at first glance. Sometimes their weirdness is subtle, hiding in the details of the strike. But before anyone rushes to clean a coin they think might be rare, there is a rule no collector should ever break. Never clean a valuable coin. Cleaning destroys the original mint surface, creates scratches, wipes away luster, and can reduce the value of a rare error coin by more than half. The best thing to do is place it in a protective holder and consider sending it to a professional grading service such as PCGS or NGC. A certified coin is far easier to sell and often brings significantly higher prices. The 2001 Roosevelt dime reminds us that even in a time of advanced minting technology and strict quality control, errors still slip through. And when they do, they can transform a simple 10-cent coin into a collectible worth thousands. The most valuable examples from the year, wrong planchet errors, extreme off-center strikes, and dramatic double strikes, have sold between $44,450 and $125,300, proving that even the smallest coins can hide shocking value. So the next time you hold a 2001 dime, don't rush past it. Hold it up to the light. Look closely at the edges, the portrait, the strike, the color. That little coin might not be as ordinary as it seems. It could be a rare survivor of a minting mistake, a hidden treasure waiting for someone with curiosity and attention to finally recognize its worth.